Sam, let me tell you the story of the ancient legend, the myth of Orcs Must Die 3.
There's no such thing. What are you talking about? It's just a myth.
One time there was a game released that nobody knew about and that faded immediately from existence called Orcs Must Die 3.
Is that because no one played it?
It's because it was on Stadia. And then Stadia got deleted after like a year. And the game was lost to the ages.
And what happened to the devs?
I'm not sure, they probably got a different jobs somewhere.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay, sorry.
So that was it. You're ruining the story, Sam.
Sorry, yes.
Indiana Jones then went into a tomb and found, what do you call those things that like slot into a server? The blades?
The blades.
Yeah, blade.
Yeah, that's
and on it, he found a copy of Orcs Must Die 3, proving that at one time it did exist.
It did exist.
It's big news, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know where we're going with this, but let's just get to the drop real quick. Hello everyone, welcome back to Stadia Mic Night. Stadia, more like failure, am I right?
Boo!
No?
You suck.
So, Google's making games. What games are they up to now, right? Nah?
What? What the fuck?
You're a moron!
So why are we talking about Stadia and Orcs Must Die 3? Well, over the last few days, it was revealed that Orcs Must Die 3, sequel to the 2012 game Orcs Must Die 2...
Which everyone played. I mean,
well,
I
it was
loved
actually... Yeah, I actually hadn't heard of it personally, but looking into it, it was very, very positively received. If you look at reviews on Steam, overwhelmingly positive. People love this game.
Sure.
A lot of positive sentiment about it.
But I think a lot of people like myself, and maybe you like, we didn't really hear about it. I think a lot of people wouldn't have heard about it either.
I hadn't heard, but I looked it up on Steam and overwhelmingly positive reviews for 1 and 2. People really love this game. Obviously has a, place in people's hearts. And, so it's a thing. 2012 was the last one. No sequel possible since then. We'll come back to that a little bit later. And that was revealed. Orcs Must Die 3 is coming, and it's coming exclusively to Google Stadia as a timed exclusive. You will not be able to play it on any other platform for a while. After that, it was actually, when it was first revealed to be an exclusive, they didn't even say timed exclusive. That later on came in a clarification when they were like, yeah, cool guys, at some point you will be able to play this game on a different platform.
So let's talk about actual Orcs Must Die. Now, look, it's made by a development house called Robot, right? Now, last one was 2012. They obviously didn't have the success that they wanted, right? So from then, the actual studio has been downsized. Yes. Now they're making smaller titles. Now so it looked like, a future Orcs Must Die 3 was just not on the cards, right? Stadia came out of nowhere. They had a discussion with Robots, and apparently they said that Stadia, or the people at Google, loved Orcs Must Die. They wanted to potentially work together and make the new one. So this is how it's all come about.
And the developer said this: OMD 3 would not be possible today without Google support. They are behind the game in a big way. We've hired more developers to bring it to life. It's the OMD game that fans of the first 2 games have been wanting, and we're thrilled that we have the opportunity to make it. So look, that is as cut and dry as you can make it. Very clear sort of evidence that this game would not exist without Google and their funding of it.
Sure.
I think that similar to the Epic Games Store, which believe me, we'll come back to.
Yes.
There is a real argument for developers, indie devs, needing money from these larger, corporate entities, what have you, so that they can make their games. And if you are a struggling indie dev, you have to do what you have to do to survive. Now, I think there are some mitigating circumstances like that. For example, if you're a Kickstarter and you promise a Steam release and then you all of a sudden switch last minute without giving people refunds,
like
Shenmue, that's a dick move, right?
Sure.
But if you are just trying to get your game out, you're trying to survive, you've got a small team of people and you need cash, then I say fair enough, man. Like, I understand your need to take those exclusive deals with the likes of Epic Games or even with the likes of Stadia here. So I think in this instance, I don't begrudge the developer this decision. It sounds like a reasonable decision from me, from my perspective.
Yeah, I look at this and go, look, if you're Borderlands 3, you don't need the cash, really. Correct. You've got a lot of hardcore fans, a lot of people wanting to play this. To make that deal kind of just seems a bit mean. I look at this and go, there are developers out there that, maybe are pretty close to shutting their doors, or they're just not really following the kind of, vision that they really wanted to. So when a company jumps in and gives them that opportunity, I can definitely see why this is something that a development house should take up and needs to take up.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that more people have jobs now as a result of this deal, that's a good thing. Those people get
it's definitely a case-by-case situation.
For sure. Obviously, though, this really brings a lot of questions about Google Stadia's long-term strategy and how it parallels the Epic Games Store. So Epic Games Store, we've been following that saga for the last few months.
Yeah. As soon as we clean him up, I'm sure you'll recognize him. There. Look familiar?
He's a pedantic, pontificating, pretentious bat.
Massively disruptive to the overall video games
And we were
industry.
excited about it at the beginning. Don't get me
were.
wrong. We were like, cool, a massive competitor to Steam, and it has been competing, but obviously in the wrong ways, because I look at Epic Games and go,
Worthless steaming pile of...
what is the actual value proposition that they have added to the gaming industry? Apart from, sure, maybe they are competing with Steam, but I find that the exclusives that they've done has just annoyed everybody and separated the community. You know, it hasn't added a lot.
Yeah, you're talking about a store that is not feature complete by any stretch of the imagination, forcing people onto it when they don't want to use it, not giving people that choice that they really embrace as part of the PC platform. So people are finding that very frustrating. And exclusives are a major pillar within that overall, the growth of the Epic Games Store. Tim Sweeney has said exclusives is how we are going to get big, so we're going to invest in them heavily. We are not slowing down on that at any point in time. So much so, in fact, that when developers turn down Epic as an exclusive, that Epic will at that point sometimes, or at least in one instance, refuse to sell their game.
Really?
So, yeah, recently that happened with a game called Dark. And
I didn't
and
know
they
that.
said, "Hey man, would you like to be an Epic exclusive?" And Dark said, "No.
Wow.
I recently have said that this is coming to Steam. My word matters. I'm going to do a Steam release."
Oof.
And so then he said, "Can I release your game on Epic Games Store, but not as an exclusive?" And Epic Games Store said, "Thanks, but no thanks."
Wow.
That's fucking shitty.
Yeah, it's really not about, it's not about, creating a space for a lot of players to play.
Yep.
It's about, like, we want your game. If you're not coming on board with us, then screw you.
And it flies in the face of all of Tim Sweeney's comments
it's all
about like,
bullshit.
I want to build a better games industry, and it's all about like a
Yeah.
better cut for the debt. No, fuck off, man.
Yeah,
That's a
bullshit.
really low moment in the history of that platform, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting off track, but my point with all of this is that exclusives matter to these platforms.
Yep.
And Google Stadia, obviously, is embracing that as a core part of their strategy now. And that carries with it a lot of risk for, I think, the consumer. Because with the Epic Games Store, it's like, alright, it sucks to have to download another launcher, but we can do it.
Yeah.
In the case of Google Stadia, there are many countries that will not be able to play Orcs Must Die, either because Stadia itself is not launched, or because even when it is launched, the internet is not good enough to be able to play it properly.
Yeah,
You do need you do need a minimum of like 10 megabyte down to be able to play it. A lot of people don't have that. And,
Sure.
and to play it high definition, you need like 25 to 30 down.
I do look
Not
at-
high definition, sorry, 4K.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I do look at that as growing pains of any technology. I think if you're going to be bringing something to the marketplace that's going to potentially completely revolutionize gaming in terms of playing 4K games on the bus or whatever you want to do, I expect growing pains. It's going to happen. Any new technology, there's going to be times that you just need to, figure it out, allow technology to move, and allow different regions to be introduced to it. I understand that. Now, the problem here, I think, is, of course, bringing an exclusive title means that a lot of people might be really excited for it, but they might live in Australia, for instance, and
Yeah.
they just can't play
can't do it.
Orcs Must Die for maybe 6 or 12 months because it is only an exclusive title for a little bit. But look, I look
Not
at
even
this.
that, by the way, some people who have like really good NBN in Australia
Sure.
will still struggle to get 10 megabyte down on the reg, so like even when Stadia arrives here, many Australians will just not be able to play this video game.
Most 4Gs now actually get that.
4G is not actually as reliable a connection as you might think. It
I
has a lot
agree.
of packet loss
We
compared
both
to-
tried to stream
Yeah.
off that.
Doesn't
of course,
work.
definitely. But look,
So,
I look at
yeah.
this and I go, okay, now they are adding a value proposition to the market. I can see that. Now, if a company is like Stadia is going to fund this, I do believe in this specific circumstance, Stadia should get something out of it. But is it an exclusive deal? Probably not, because not everyone can play it on different platforms. It should be something else like exclusive content or something like that. Make sure that it's still accessible to all the gamers, But I look at, with Stadia compared to Epic Games, I think the fundamental value proposition that Stadia is putting forward is we're trying to move this whole gaming industry forward by introducing new technologies and new ways to play, where with Epic Games, I just felt like they're just, trying to grab, exclusives just to try and grab exclusives.
Yeah, but even then, that whole like, hey, you can play on the bus now. That's nice, but that's also offset by the reality that we don't actually know Stadia is going to survive. And that was the whole gag at the front, guys, just in case it wasn't clear.
Sure.
We have no faith that Google Stadia is going to be sticking around in the long term. Google has a very rich history of starting something, getting bored of it after like 2 months, and then just dropping it. And so, people genuinely worry. Now, this game obviously is a timed exclusive. It will eventually appear on other platforms, but maybe there'll be other games in the future that arrive that are exclusive to Stadia, and maybe those games are forever lost to history if and when Stadia just disappears.
I think that's doomsday stuff.
Maybe there'll be other games lost to the Isles of History
forever lost in the ether of time. You are not prepared.
It is Doomsday stuff, but come on, there's so much evidence
there is
about
the
this.
possibility, based on the huge track record, that this might fail. Fine, but I do think that there'll always be some sort of marketplace to actually still buy or play those games. I don't actually think that's going to be the end result. If Stadia does fail, I'm guessing that there'll be something that they put in place. But look, we'll have to see in terms of that. But like, really, what it comes down to, what is the dev getting out of this? What's Stadia getting out of this? But like, what's the consumer getting out of this?
Well, I think as well, it is important to say that the developer did specify that because they're developing for a cloud framework, Orcs Must Die 3 is a different game now, right? Because they are relying on this cloud computational power, so they can make what they consider to be a better game. And that actually stands to reason. You know, most games development is more about, like, not what you want to do, but how you want to do it. And if you are developing for sort of cloud architecture with all this shared computational power, it really just removes a lot of restrictions off you and you can do cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I think consumers will feel so long as they can actually play the game without it being really laggy.
Look, and not to mention, something that the consumers get is a game that never would have come to light if Stadia didn't step in. So look, there are benefits on all fronts. Stadia gets an exclusive game, sure, we're not fans of it, but that's something that they get for the money. You know, devs themselves, they get unlimited power making this game run on one computer. They've got, 100 computers that they can try and make this work on a cloud. And the consumer also gets, better graphics, better frame rates potentially, with this whole cloud power, and also a portable experience for Orcs Must Die. So there are benefits there. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But we do see those.
But I just feel like those benefits are being delivered at the wrong time when when most countries don't even have Stadia. When, even if you do have it, your internet's probably not going to be good enough.
Sure.
And we have no faith that Stadia is going to stick around in the long term. So I think those three things in combination just make this, I think, not the best move in terms of not necessarily even just this game specifically, but more about Stadia's strategy in the long term.
It's definitely a trend. Yeah.
And I really worry that we're going to see some really big fish get landed by Stadia. And,
it's Google, man. Like, they got some serious cash.
Correct,
if they want to get the next, I don't know, freaking Halo. No, not Halo, but something gigantic. They're like, we'll pay whatever to make sure that Stadia is a success. I can definitely see that happening. Now, that is going to be a problem. You're right, with a lot of people that just can't buy that game because they're not in the right region or they don't have the right technology. That's definitely something to look out for. But at the same time, I'm excited to see where this technology does take the industry, because it is exciting.
It is exciting technology, but I've always said I think it's about choice. If you've got choice to play it on local hardware or cloud, I think it's great technology. The problem I have with Stadia is that you don't have that choice. It's all in the cloud all the time. There is no choice.
Yeah.
So that's why I worry about it. And I feel like this whole games ownership thing it further exacerbates this whole argument where, like, at least with the launcher, okay, cool, we've got a file that we own and the launcher can probably port it to somewhere else and it's off, we can download our games and play them offline. With Stadia, it's like, no, you can't do that. If Stadia disappears, we don't own anything at that point. We've spent $100 on a platform that's decided to peace out within 2 years' time.
That might
do you know what I mean?
Sure. I do look at this and over the next couple of years, there's going to be growing pains also in regards to, what it is to be exclusive, what's acceptable if you want to be putting money in from Stadia or whatever. What should they actually get back in terms of exclusive content or exclusivity in general? All this stuff I think will be figured out in the next couple of years. But you're right, if we continue to see a trend where big games were not able to be played by people, it's not cool. So that definitely is something to be worried about.
Definitely.
Anyway, people, that is it, okay? Back to Mike Night tomorrow, I guess.
No
with
thanks.
More jokes.
No more jokes.
Layman, more like, I won't say that. See ya.
Get demonetized.
Demonetized.